Hello and welcome back to Bicyclelegs and another edition of Favorite Albums of All Time. I haven't done one of these for a while, so it's really good to get back into it. And today I have Peter Kerr from Rock Daydream Nation joining me again. Thanks again, Peter. Always lovely to have you on the channel.
A pleasure. Pleasure to be here.
And we're talking about an album that is, for both of us, a favorite album of all time. And that is the debut album by iconic Australian band Hoodoo Gurus, and that is Stoneage Romeos. So that's the original pressing. Peter's got the CD there, and I also have the repress on lovely yellow vinyl. So this was originally released in March of 1984 on an indie label here in Australia called Big Time. And yeah, I mean, it was really a pivotal moment for me in Australian music. How about for you?
Oh, it's a magic album. This band I've seen, they're probably out of all the Australian acts, I've seen this band more times than any of the other Australian acts. And when this album came out, it was like a breath of fresh air. I think I was in year 9 at school, maybe 13 or 14, and Hoodoo Gurus were actually the first live band that I ever saw. It was in school holidays, and they were supporting Avion, or might have been the other way around, but they had these concerts at the Tivoli Theatre in Sydney, and they would showcase a particular Australian band. And it was like a lunchtime concert, and Hoodoo Gurus were the actual band that played, and they were showcasing this album. And yeah, very close to my heart.
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I remember when this album came out, I had a group of friends who were slightly older than me. And, you know, one of the funny things about this album is it says on the back cover in a little corner right there, it says, if you enjoyed this album, please help the band get your friends to buy a copy, not tape yours. And the funny thing is, I first heard this album because one of my mates taped it for me.
Well, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Can't be helped.
And I remember, you know, feeling really cool that I was in at the ground floor with this band, you know, because it really wasn't until the second album that they really took off in Australia, when they had the big hit with like Wow Wipeout.
Yes, absolutely. Because this album went to not only hit number 29 in the Australian charts, but with the follow-up, that actually hit number 5. So I guess through touring of this album, they built up a groundswell of, recognition, and it paid off in spades with their the second album.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, Peter, we've talked about this before when, you know, just privately, but I love the Hoodoo Gurus, and I don't think they've ever done a bad record. But no, I don't think they ever beat this one.
No, this is their best, in my opinion. I don't think they've made a bad album, but I think they have, they kind of plateau, but it is at a high quality compared to a lot of bands. But definitely those early, maybe 3 or 4 albums of such a high quality, I would recommend our viewers to check it out. But this is definitely my favorite out of the whole catalogue.
Absolutely. And it's also, I think, far and away the best place to start with the Hoodoo Gurus if you're getting into them.
Absolutely, because it sums up their influences. This album is a potpourri of the music they like, and it's all out on show. So yeah.
I mean, this really has I was just listening to it again this afternoon, just not because I really needed to refresh it, because I think every bar of music in this album is sort of permanently etched in my memory, but it's just a pleasure to go back and listen to it again.
Absolutely.
And it just has such a wonderful sort of 60s garage rock feel to it, doesn't it?
Yes, but there's also a bit of 70s, and we'll talk about that as we go deeper into the track listing. But I was thinking, how do you classify this, Bicyclelegs? There's Detroit, there's power pop, there's garage, there's a little bit of punk, because, Dave Faulkner was in a band with Baker called The Victims, which were a punk band from Perth. So there's all these different sort of influences. There's even classic rock, because Brad Shep's a huge Iommi Blackmore fan. So put it all into a band and you get this potpourri of all different influences.
And of course, Brad Shepard, I have to mention, Brisbane boy. So
guitar legend.
Yeah.
No, seriously, he is a Aussie guitar legend, very underrated. And if you did a poll of best, Australian guitarist, he's got to be up there.
Yeah. But yeah, this is the lineup on this album isn't actually the original lineup, because they originally started with 3 guitar players and no bass player, which is an interesting lineup to have. But they eventually went with the 2 guitars, bass and drums. And the lineup on this is Dave Faulkner on guitar, lead vocals, and a little bit of keyboards. Brad Shepard, lead guitar, backing vocals, bit of harmonica. You have Clyde Bramley on bass and vocals, and James Baker on his one and only Hoodoo Gurus appearance on drums. He would leave the band after this. Absolutely.
I love Baker. Love him.
I can't go without mentioning, after the Hoodoo Gurus, he released a single under the name The James Baker Experience. And the song I always remember from that was actually the B-side, which was a song called Born to Be Punched. Yeah. And it's the most hilarious thing you'll ever hear in your life. Yeah. It's just absolutely wonderful.
Well, I've got to put another shout out, because Baker's been in a couple of legendary bands, and the Beast Suburban with Tex Perkins. I mean, that may be an idea for a future show, but they are the quintessential rock band as well. So Baker's had the luxury of being in a couple of solid gold bands. Yeah.
So let's go through it track by track, and it starts off in just the most perfect way, as far as I'm concerned, with the song Let's All Turn On, which is really, I mean, the lyric just sort of lists a whole bunch of different influences on this band, doesn't it?
It does, and there were a few bands that used to do this, a few acts, but look, they are the sponges of pop culture, whether it's movies, whether it's TV shows, whether it's music, and it's all in this song. So, and it's got the catchphrase, "That's what I like."
Yes.
I think it's a stonker of an own track, and a regular in their song set. They play this. I saw the Hoodoo Gurus last year at the Hordern, sold out Hordern show. They're still a crowd puller. They play a couple of shows, big shows, and they still pull in the crowds. It was supported by Dandy Warhols, and that was in the song set. So actually, the last couple of times I've seen them, this song has been in the song set. So yeah, it's a cracker of an opening track,
isn't it? And it's really fast tempo, really sort of garage rocky feel to the music. It's a great vocal from Dave Faulkner, and some lovely sort of little high falsetto backing vocals in bits of parts from Clyde and Brad. In particular, I think in the line, who wears short shorts? We wear short shorts.
Yeah, absolutely. And the bass line is very buzzcocky. It sounds like the Buzzcocks. It's got that really punkish vibe to it. So that's the thing I love about this band. There's so many different influences that they bring to the table, and I think out of all the Hoodoo Guru albums, this has got a lot of punk edge to it, because of the lineage to Dave's previous band from Perth, The Victims.
Yeah. So the next song is I Want You Back, and I remember when this came out as a single. I mean, this is just a perfect power pop song, isn't it?
Yes. There's the single I picked up, bit of a morbid album, little single cover.
Yeah.
There you go. But
that cover might have been better off for a song that we're going to talk about a little later in this track listing. But
this is probably my favorite song off the whole album. It's wonderful, and heartfelt lyrics. Dave has got a wonderful voice, and it's just the tone of this voice is great, and it's just high energy power pop. It's just got a lot of drive to it, a lot of oomph.
Yeah.
I love it, and it should have been a hit, but it wasn't. But
Yeah, I
again,
know.
it's an essential song in their song list. They will, if they didn't play this song, there would be a riot in the streets in their concerts.
Well, absolutely. And I remember when this came out as a single, because I mean, this was the second single that I was aware of. There were a couple of singles that they did re-record for the album that that they did put out earlier before the album came out. But I remember when this came out, you know, I had just gotten into the band. I'd been given that cassette and I'd been listening to it over and over and over again. And I agree, this is one of my favorite songs on the album too. Just a really good, as I said, it's a power pop song. It really is. And it's just really, really well done. It's a great love lyric. You know, it's not a cheesy thing at all. It's really heartfelt, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they're capable of doing a cheesy love lyric. There's always a little bit of bite, a little bit of edge. And if you read the lyrics to the song, it's about a person that's spreading gossip. And Dave, or the protagonist, or whoever's right, you know, in the character is contemplating over what happened, and, you know, perpetual lies that have been spread with his friends, and, you know, the rumor of, you know, I want you back. So I think Dave is a fine lyric writer. And but there's no such thing as a cheesy romantic song in his canon. There's always a little bit of bite, a little bit of edge, or a little bit of quirk.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we get on to Arthur. Now, this lyric, I believe, is sort of slightly based on real life events. It's about a friend of theirs who was a bass player who died in a taxi accident. He was a taxi driver. And,
had an angel face.
Yes. You know, this is a great song. Really, this one has a really sort of great chugging energy to it. It's not as fast as, say, Let's All Turn On, but it's really, really, the guitars in it are just so chunky, and again, the vocal is sung with such expression by Dave Faulkner.
Yep.
You know, he's really putting his heart on his sleeve on this one, isn't he?
Absolutely. So, as I said at the start of the show, you've got a band that loves Detroit, loves power pop, loves garage, loves punk. And within a song, it can oscillate across some of those genres. And this is one of those songs that you can probably classify in a couple of those different genres. They can just switch it. And I think Arthur's a mighty fine song.
Yeah. It's really, really good. And then you get on to Death Ship. Which,
cheeky lyric. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this probably the fastest song on the album. You know, it's probably even faster than Let's All Turn On. It's just really high kinetic energy with this one. And the lyric, yeah, it's sort of sung, it's sort of this pirate lyric, but again, it's about sort of a relationship, or a girl he thought had cheated on him but hadn't. And then but it's sung with, you know, this one's sung really with the tongue firmly implanted in cheek.
I am the captain of the death ship, or of a what is it?
Ghostly crew.
A ghostly crew, yes.
Sail the seven seas with nothing to do. The girl that I thought was untrue really loved me. Boo hoo hoo.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he sings that boo hoo hoo just so sarcastically, you know.
Yes. It's punky. It really is. It's one of their most punky ones on the album, and they're really wearing their influences on their sleeve.
Yeah, it's really, you say punky, it's spiky, it's prickly.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I like.
And the lyric, you know, fits that well too. It's spiky and prickly too, and as I say, very sort of cynical and sarcastic. And
absolutely. And one thing I've got to say, we're talking a lot about their influences in the past, but this is an album, folks, you can play now, but it sounds contemporary.
Yes,
because it's timeless. there is some music that's made and it dates because it's very much with the now, but because this is influence of music from the past and it's kind of got that classic sound, it's timeless.
Yeah,
So
this does not sound like a lot of things that were going on in 1984, does it?
no, and 2023, it sounds fresh as a daisy.
Yeah. And then we get on to Dig It Up, and that's the song I was sort of alluding to earlier when you were showing that cover for I Want You Back.
Oh yeah,
Because
I'll just put it again, just for the folk.
Because this song is about, his girlfriend is dead.
There's the band. Yep.
You can't take away my love. You got to dig it up. My girlfriend lives in the ground.
Yeah.
It's a real, and this one's a sort of bluesy, sort of mid-tempoed thing, but again with those guitar, that sort of garage rocky, sort of punky sort of edge to it as well.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of swamp rock. It's Southern Gothic, psychobilly, and I could imagine the Cramps covering this song.
Yeah,
it's right in their wheelhouse. And I know that I'm sure the lads were big fans of the Cramps. So again, you've got another set of influences, but no, this is really Southern Gothic.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then side one closes out with just the most gorgeous pop song that I think may
written
have
about his
been.
dog.
Well, not really. That's what the film clip was. But,
no. Oh.
But anyway,
I have read articles that he said that it was written about his dog, and a lot of people have had, love song. Remember those shows on radio in Australia where it was called love song dedications and things like that, where people would just ring and do love song. And this song was very popular, but I'm sure I've read that it was written about his pooch.
I don't know. I mean, the song is called My Girl. It's not the famous 60s song you're thinking of, but it's a beautiful song. My Girl Don't Want Me at All. It's just showing another side of the band. It's such a beautiful, simple pop song, a little bit of keyboards in it, which there isn't very much keyboards on this album, but there's this one's sort of almost keyboard driven. It's got that sort of, electric piano kind of sound, and it's got a synth bass on it, but not a cheesy sort of synth pop synth bass. I don't know. You have to go and listen to this song, but this was my introduction to the band. Yeah. This is the first song I heard. I saw it on Countdown, which is what very famous music program here from the 70s and 80s. In fact, this album won the Countdown Music Award for Best Debut Album in 1984. So there you go.
Right. Yeah. I think My Girl could easily fit into the San Francisco Summer of Love type music, the Birds, and it's as I said, it's got that classic songwriting quality. Faulkner is a really sharp songwriter. He's a great songwriter, and I could really imagine that fitting into getting radio airplay in the late 60s.
Yeah. Speaking of songs that have, I think, a very late 60s influence to them, we get on to the opener on side 2, Zanzibar.
Yes.
And this is one of my favorite songs on the album because, again, it's an interesting song musically. It's got these real sort of late 60s influences. The guitars almost have that sitar-y quality, but like they don't sound like a sitar guitar, but they're playing those sorts of lines that a lot of those late 60s bands would play. Musically, again, it's beautiful. It's sort of mid-tempo. And then the lyric is one of the cleverest lyrics. About, he's talking to this girl and, did we ever meet in Zanzibar? And like, are you who you say you are? And then in the last verse, he reveals that he's never been to Zanzibar. So you're not who you say you are.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Oh, it's great. Well said. It's got that dream-like feel to it. So it's dreamy, melodically rich. It's a great start, a great melodic confection of a song to start off side two.
Yeah.
And again, it illustrates the fine songcraft of Dave Faulkner. He's like at the top shelf of Australian songwriting.
Absolutely.
Top shelf.
Then we get Leilani. Now, this is a re-recording of their very first single.
Les Hoodoo Gurus?
Les Hoodoo Gurus, they were,
Yes.
for that first song. And it was originally recorded with that original lineup of they had the 3 guitar players and no bass player. But they've re-recorded it for this album, and it's an epic. This is the epic on the album, isn't it?
It is, and I think it's got a little bit of a tribute to glam 70s rock. I could imagine, some of the, your Gary Glitters or some of those UK glam acts with that sort of rhythm, the tribal drums.
Oh, yeah,
but it's
absolutely
got a Pacific twist on it.
Yes.
There's a lot of that, nod to Pacifica and, through the lyrical content. So I think it's a fine mix of glam rock, but with maybe an Australian Pacific twist.
Yeah. Well, the lyric is about a guy whose girlfriend allows herself to be sacrificed to a volcano god, basically. The whole lyric is about that, please don't go to the volcano. And you have those wonderful backing vocals in it. But yeah, the drums
should we
are
mention
absolutely
the cover?
Yes.
I was thinking about, sorry to interrupt, mate.
That's right.
You know how you're talking about Sacrifice the Volcano, this
Yes.
album cover, which is 1 million years BC with Raquel Welch.
Yes.
And I think this is a great album cover. So this kind of reminds me of that song.
Yeah. And then when this album got released, I think the year later in the US, they gave it a completely different cover, which was nowhere near as good.
Terrible. So you can understand why it only reached 200. It's a miracle it actually reached 200 in the Billboard. If it had that album cover, the Australian version, I think it may have, because it's kind of a really interesting album cover. The consumer that goes to the record store and purchases an album on the basis of the cover,
yeah,
it would have gone much higher.
I mean, it's wonderful, isn't it? That's just that sort of day glow, fluoro colors to it. It's loud and it's gaudy, and it kind of really suits the music that is encased within it. But Leilani, just such a great track. And this album did get a bit of college rock airplay in the US.
Yes.
So
they're known in the college circuit, and there are certain pockets in America where they're quite recognized, and they have just recently done an American tour, and it did quite well. I know that over subsequent albums, they toured with the Bangles. Now,
yes.
The famous story is that originally they were going to tour America, maybe off this album, but I'm sure your viewers will correct me, and it was going to be the Bangles that were going to support them. Well, there was a certain little Prince ditty called Manic Monday, and the rest is history. So the band swapped over, and it was the Hoodoo Gurus supporting the Bangles.
Yeah.
And they were really kind of close friends of each other and intertwined. And they did a fabulous tour. But you would have thought off that tour that they would have had more traction commercially, but I just don't think they really ascertained any more than college radio or cult status in America. And that's a bit of a head scratch.
Yeah. The Bangles ended up doing some backing vocals for them on the Blow Your Cool album, I think it was.
Yeah.
They were good friends, and they got on really, really well together.
Yeah, I mean, especially those early Bangles albums, which are kind of jangly masterpieces.
Yes.
You can see that they're definitely in the same wheelhouse.
I was going to say, I do love me some Bangles too.
Future show.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So the next song is Tojo.
Yes.
Which was also it was released as a single before the album came out. And this is a song, I mean, the song is called Tojo, but it's not really about the leader of Japan during World War II. It's actually about Cyclone Tracy hitting Darwin. And I love the way the lyric sort of personifies Cyclone Tracy, as if you could have a conversation with her, you know, as if you could bargain her way into not, because for those who don't know, in 1974 on Christmas Eve, Cyclone Tracy completely destroyed the northern Australian city of Darwin. 70% of all buildings in Darwin were destroyed by Cyclone Tracy. It was an absolute tragedy. And they even refer, right at the end of the song, there was a charity single that came out just after Cyclone Tracy, called Santa Never Came to Darwin.
I remember that song.
And they reference that right at the end of the song. But they're using Tojo as like Tojo never made it to Darwin, but Cyclone Tracy did. And it's just an insanely up-tempo, catchy, musically song, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it's definitely 60s garage pop, power pop. So if you've got a bit of garage, power pop, and there's still that little bit of punk edge. I mean, this is not a saccharine album. All the songs have a little bit of edge, and it's got a lot of oomph in that song. Yeah. And again, that is a set favorite. They always play that song.
Yeah. Then we get on to In the Echo Chamber. This is probably the one song on this album where I think they start to show a little bit of what would be a later, like an influence you'd hear more on later albums, which is a bit of psychedelia.
Yes. There's a lot of fuzz at the start. So you've got this fuzz guitar counterpoint with bass, a bass riff, and it picks up a little bit of momentum as it goes along. And there's a mid section, which is, it just absolutely goes bonkers. And really aggressive, really powerful. But yeah, it's definitely psychedelic. And, there was they used to wear the Paisley shirts, didn't they?
Yeah.
The button up. And, I think there was a bit of a movement called the Paisley movement. And there are a lot of bands in Sydney, ups and downs, a few others that just escaped me. And I think the Hoodoo Gurus kind of were like 1 degree of separation on the cusp of the Paisley movement. And this song was definitely in that sort of wheelhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a fine song, and yeah, it definitely has sort of that. It's a bit more edgy and more rocking than a lot of those sort of Paisley underground bands were, but it definitely has that real psychedelic feel to it with the echoey sort of, to go tie into the title of the song. And again, James Baker really sort of pounding out those tribal rhythms on this one.
Oh, I love James. He's a cold hero.
Yeah. And I mean, back cover there. That's James there. Look at those bangs.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Brian Jones, you're alive. Incidentally, James Baker was running a pie shop in Newtown, and he was like a fan favorite. People would go in and buy a pie from James and get a copy of the album autographed. The pie shop's long gone, but that was part of the whole mystique around James.
Wow. And then the album finishes out with the song called I Was a Kamikaze Pilot. And this, to me, is the biggest example of the Hoodoo Gurus showing their sense of humor. This is a really funny song.
It is.
But it's a great song, really bluesy sort of chord changes again, but done in that sort of garage rocky, punky sort of way.
Yeah.
It's a great closer.
Absolutely. It's a great closer. I actually think this is their most classic 70s rock song. It's got a bit of Stone swagger.
Yeah.
So I think maybe Shep is coming a little bit more to the fore because he loves his classic rock. And, it's got, as I said, it's got that sort of sub-Stonesy blues feel to it. So it's a mighty fine way to end the album. And, you're just exhausted in a good way because there's just so many influences on this album.
Yeah.
All the way through. You can't pin them down.
So there you have it, everybody. Hoodoo Gurus, Stoneage Romeos. one of our favorite albums of all time. I think you actually said to me, if I'm not misquoting you, Peter, that this might be a top 10 album for you.
Oh, it'd be definitely right up there. Absolutely. I rank it very highly. So
me
it's
too.
definitely one of the best Australian albums, and it holds up so, pretty well to this day. And I think there was a book that was brought out about 10 years called 100 Greatest Australian Albums of All Time. And it's just one of those ones where you get all the critics like Stuart Cope and all those, and they put their selections of their top 10. And I don't know the actual placing, but it was right up there.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Stuart Coop, I think, is he's listed on here as the boss. So I think he was their manager at the time.
Yes, he was.
So there you go. And he's just got a book coming out too, like an autobiography. So that's well worth checking out if you're an
Sorry, I
Australian
mispronounced your name, dude.
That's all right. I may well have buggered it up too. I don't know. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, an absolutely classic Australian album. If you've never heard this album, please go to your listening app of choice and give it a spin. You will not regret it. It is an absolutely wonderful time to listen to this album. It's just so much fun. But as you say, at the end of it, you are a little bit exhausted just from having so much fun, I think.
Yeah. Can I ask a quick question? What's your second favorite?
Of the Gurus. Oh, I would have to sit down and think about that. I mean, Mars Needs Guitars is a good album. It's a great follow-up. But, some of their later albums are really good too. And, I don't know. I'd have to really sort of sit and think about that.
Yeah. Look, Mars Needs Guitars is outstanding. And I think, those early couple ones, but yeah, just interesting to hear. That's all.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's one of our favorite albums of all time. Please let us know in the comments what you think of it. If you go and have a listen to it, or if you already know this album, tell us what your favorite Hoodoo Gurus songs are. We'd love to hear it. Love to see those in the comments. Please do like, share, and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. If you're new to the channel, please go and have a look at some of my other videos. I have everything playlisted, so if you want to see some of my other favorite albums of all time, there's a playlist for those. If you want to see some of my studio albums rank shows, there's a playlist for those. If you want to see my appearances on other channels, like Rock Daydream Nation with Mr. Peter Kerr, there is a playlist for those as well. Please, if you're not already subscribed to Rock Daydream Nation, go and subscribe immediately. I'll leave a link in the description as always. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at bicyclelegs on Instagram and Twitter, and I also now have a dedicated bicyclelegs Facebook page. Links all in the description. Please come and give those all a follow and join in the conversation. I'd really love to have you there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
See you later. Cheers.